everyone, it's Nina. Thanks so much for joining me today. Today I have a fun see-through shaker card to share with you, featuring stamps from Newton's Nook Designs and also a couple of dies from Simon Says Stamp. Shaker cards are so much fun to create, and I really love incorporating them into my cards. So let's get started and check out how easy it is to create this card. Now, when I was originally creating this card, I was going to actually be using this shaker pocket that you see here on the side. I'm using this as reference for the colors that I want to color this butterfly, which is from the Newton's Nook Beautiful Wings stamp set. I originally, like I said, was going to be using the shaker pocket, which I created with the fuse tool. But I ended up breaking it, and I had sequins all over the place. It was a mess. It was one of those days in the craft room where everything was going wrong, and I did not have a good time cleaning that up. So I figured after having that debacle, I was going to just turn this into a regular shaker card and not try to play with the fuse tool for this particular card after having that little disaster with the shaker pocket breaking and then having the sequins all over the place. Anyway, I'm coloring my butterfly using my Copic markers. I'm doing very simple shading here. This butterfly is created with a bunch of different looking petal pieces. It's what I would liken it to. It almost reminds me of quilled paper. If you've ever done quilled papering, I used to do that all the time when I was a kid. I always loved it. And this butterfly image and all the other ones included in the Beautiful Wings stamp set reminds me of quilled papers. I'm just adding some darker shading along the areas of where I think it would be darkest, and then I'm letting the outer portions of these little quills be a little bit lighter. Now after I did my first layer of color, I went back again the second time, this time with only the darkest marker, and I'm adding the darker colors right over top of where I had placed them originally, and that's just going to intensify the coloring on the butterfly a little bit and really give this a lot more dimension. To stamp my butterfly, I used the Simon Says Stamp Lavender ink. So I'm going to die cut this with the coordinating die that goes in the Beautiful Wings die set. You can get this separately, and you can also get these both over at the Simon Says Stamp shop. I'm going to die cut a frame from some white cardstock. You can see here I just layered 2 of the stitched rectangle dies from Simon Says Stamp. I layered them together and then I taped them in place and ran them through my Big Shot. I used some white cardstock for that, and I'm putting some double-sided adhesive on the back side of this frame that I've now created. I used some 1/4-inch score tape for this. Once I remove all the backing pieces, I'm going to go ahead and layer this up onto a piece of transparency. To create your shaker window, you can use a variety of different materials. These are, again, transparency sheets. They're also sometimes called window plastic. I will have a pair linked down in the video description and also on the Simon Says Stamp blog where you can get some of these over at Simon Says Stamp. I'm just using this as the window for my shaker, but you could again use packaging or other different types of materials that are clear. I'll trim this down so that way I have it perfectly up against my frame. And then I'll turn it over to the back side. I'm cutting this 1/2-inch foam tape into 1/4-inch strips so that way it fits around the edges of my little frame here. I'll go ahead and trim it down as needed. So you can see here it's a little long, so I'll just trim that down. And then I'll go ahead and cover the entire back side of this frame using this foam tape. Once I have the foam tape covering the frame, I'm going to go ahead and dump in all of those little sequin pieces. These are sequin mixes from Lucy's cards. I'll have them linked over at the Simon Says Stamp blog and in the video description as well. I loved how the colors all matched together, and I really thought this would be a really fun and almost magical looking card. So I'll go ahead and remove the backing very carefully because, again, I had already spilled these sequins all over the place and I did not want to pick them back up again. So I'm handling this frame very gingerly so that way I don't have any sequins go flying anywhere again. So after I've removed that backing, I'm taking another piece of transparency and I'm putting this on the back side of my frame. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want this to be see-through. I don't want any cardstock or anything behind my shaker pieces. So I needed something clear to be able to capture my sequins into the shaker well, and that transparency works perfect for that. I'll turn it back over to the front side, and I'm going to put my butterfly there, you can see. But first I want to create a foil sentiment, and this is some printable foil. You can print on this, but this is by Silhouette. You can use this with your Silhouette Cameo. I use it for foil papers because sometimes I don't feel like breaking out my laminator, so this works perfectly. And I'm going to be die cutting this sentiment, this kind of sentiment. It's from Simon Says Stamp. I'm going to die cut that and attach it down onto my frame here. As you can see, I just removed the adhesive backing and plopped it right down onto the card. Very simple and easy to do. And then the butterflies just popped up off the card using some foam tape. Okay, so to build our card base, I am using some basil vellum. I'm going to go ahead and score this into an A2 sized card. And then I'm going to go ahead and put some score tape again onto the back side of my little frame here. I'm using this score tape to be able to hold my shaker panel onto my card base, and this is really strong adhesive. So I really like using this because I know it's going to hold down and in place and not going to go anywhere. I'll remove the backing and then I'll go ahead and lay this down onto my panel. And then I also wanted to have a white cardstock panel on the inside so that I could write on this card very easily using any type of pen. So to do this, and I want this lined up perfectly with the panel on the front side, I'm just laying the cardstock face down onto the front side of my card and then folding the card base on top of it. So that's going to hold it in place now because I put adhesive again on the back side of that cardstock panel. And now it's on my card perfectly. Okay, now I need to finish off my card with a sentiment. So I'm using the Just Say Cheese stamp set because I really liked the sentiment, "You're the best." So it's going to say, "Kindness, you're the best." I'm prepping some lavender cardstock from Simon Says Stamp, and I'm going to go ahead and ink up that sentiment using some clear embossing ink from Simon Says Stamp. I'll go ahead and press that down good, and then I will go ahead and heat emboss this with some white embossing powder from Ranger. I really love this fine detail embossing powder because for small sentiments like this, it really captures all the detail. Now I want this to be a banner, so I'm going to go ahead and trim this down a little bit, make sure it's not quite so big. So I'm going to go ahead and add some V ends to this little banner. I'll just go ahead and cut a slit up the middle and then meet it on each side, and that creates the perfect little V shape. Once I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and put some adhesive on the back side, just using my tape runner here. And then I'll go ahead and pop this underneath my kindness sentiment just to kind of add a little bit of interest. And that's going to do it. You can see how fun this shaker card is, how sparkly and beautiful. And I love how the clean and simple look really lets this shine. So I hope you've enjoyed and got some inspiration on creating some see-through shaker cards. If you have any questions, be sure to leave them in the comments section below. And head on over to the Simon Says Stamp blog where you can get more information on this card, including still pictures and products used. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you can find us on social media at Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, as well as our blog. Thanks for watching!